Morning. Is the manager available? Is there an attorney?
Probably get one.
Yeah, because my family's filed these all against public officials. We haven't had any response. And I was up with dealing with the clerks. We have some fraud and they sent me down here. Yeah.
Let's figure out who it is.
Anybody with a bar license will help. Happy New Year.
So are these a bunch of cases that law enforcement has taken and not sent to the prosecuting office?
I'm not sure what's going on. I got, I got a lot here. That seems to be the case, but so my family, my wife and children, who were under 18, through most of this, are looking for their rights to the 14th Amendment for equal protection under the law.
Okay.
I've been arrested 10 times, had 8 cases dismissed so far up to this point, going pro se, but there's been a lot of fraud. And there's
What was your name?
Sean Conroy. But I was trying to, one of my wife's supervisor took us to court for DCYF, and I appealed it to here, and she didn't sign any of her briefs or motions or anything, which should have been stricken. And I was talking to the clerk, there was some crimes involved in that, and they told me to come down here to the attorney. Sean Conroy. C-O-N as in Nancy, R-O-Y. Big remodel job in this place, huh? How's it going? I'm doing fine. Yeah, my family were crime victims here. Over the last 5 years, we filed, a lot of these are in Seattle, Bellevue, and King County, basically been ignored. My wife's a public official. Okay, so it's stemming from the pandemic in 2020. You're not Dan Clark, are you? Oh, yeah, my kids were here. We talked to you about some evidence. I didn't bring all this and everything, but you never got, well, it was just the videos we went over. We didn't get into detail. So anyway, why we were here, during the pandemic, when I was laid off, we wanted to get our minority children on my wife's public employee benefits for DSHS and DCYF. State denied health insurance for 15 months to my children with pre-existing asthma in legal judgments. It was a young attorney that, bid on some fraud and spiked the football by denying us insurance, during the national emergency while my wife was gainfully employed. And then also, what you don't know about is over the last 5 years, over 250 state and federal employees have compounded over 750 gross misdemeanors against my wife and children and myself as retaliation. We've filed reports, but we don't hear anything back. And on top of all this, on October 6, 2022, my wife was at her Indian Child Welfare Office, and one of her clients, African-American 16-year-old state-dependent youth, ran away from her foster home and called my wife's agency to retrieve her off the street. So my wife's colleague left, brought her back to the agency in West Seattle, Indian Child Welfare, and the youth got out of the car with the social worker in the parking lot arguing with the social worker, which captured my wife and her co-worker's attention out the window. So Natasha Savage, one of my wife's supervisors, went down to mediate, see what's going on. And when she was down there talking to the girl walked away in distress down Delridge Way about a block and was found strangled to death the following morning. And it's an open murder case right now still. This is 2022. But my wife went in and seen them sweeping the case under the rug, and she went to the court closing where they just said she passed 3 months before the cause of death came back from the coroner. And she put in a tip, because there's tips for the murder against her supervisor, because Natasha Savage didn't call 911 when that girl walked off the parking lot, which is negligent homicide, on paper, you know what I'm saying? So my wife put in a tip, and we didn't hear anything, and we went to my wife to support my wife in her labor dispute in 2023. We went to my wife's work and to organize with her union employees. And we were supporting her under the National Labor Relations Act and the RCWs for organizing. And we called the police, one of these, on her administrator, Cynthia Blair, and we filed an 80-minute report there on site, and we left peaceably, and Cynthia Blair summons the court 5 days later for a civil anti-harassment order, the state administrator for that agency. And as you know, only the Attorney General could represent a state official or a state agency in all civil and quasi-legal civil matters, or legal and quasi-legal matters. But she was going pro se to take us to court and keep us away from Delridge Way, DCYF office. So we went to district court and we put in a good case. And as you know, here's the Attorney General shell. She was going pro se. So she was basically criminally impersonating a representative Attorney General's office in the first degree, and also injunctions in labor disputes. So the judges had no jurisdiction to rule in this matter. We were peacefully organizing and everything like that. So Cynthia Blair, I appealed it, right, all the way to the Supreme Court eventually, but we brought it to here under Judge David Webby. And Cynthia Blair didn't sign any of her briefs or her motions, which should have been stricken according to Court Rule 11, obviously, right? And they weren't. And the judge actually counseled for her. He gave us the rights back to go back to the agency and to sue Blair, which Judge Laurel Gibson, with no evidence and no signatures, she was there waiting just to rule like she was a an employee of the state agency itself, you know. But Webby gave us some of our rights back, but he kept the order, and he justified the labor dispute thing by citing case law. That's why we counseled for her, for black men and black men, a domestic violence dispute in a work labor dispute, you know, where he justified it and denied us a jury for that too. So he gave us some of our rights back, and I appealed it to the Supreme Court, and they put out an active shooter alert based on her lies against my children and myself, very vague. According to Cynthia Blair, the Office of Indian Child Welfare Administrator, we view this as attempted murder against my family. Very vague and dangerous. They put armed security at my wife's work. She had to walk by. You know, it was really discriminatory. But another thing is, so I'm flying through this. And here's my wife's, she sent emails out to all DCYF employees on her work computer with about 1,000 pages of PDF evidence, you know. And almost there. So when we appealed Wedby up to the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court, you know, Blair didn't sign any of her petitions again, or replies to my briefs or motions, or replies to my briefs or motions, all the way to the Supreme Court. And I'm telling the judges in my motions, hey, she's not signing anything, you know, this needs to be stricken. So Misako, you know, because I kind of troll the commissioners before it gets to the commissioner, before the panel, and they got bar licenses, you know, so I kind of trolled them a little bit legally, you know, with the Constitution, and well, you know, kind of letting them know that how much frauds they are, but legally and respectfully. So Misako, over here, under your jurisdiction, she admits right here on the highlighted part. So it's a labor dispute. You know, I mean, this is federal court evidence. And then on page 2, the highlighted. See how she says after the youth was found murdered? See that? That, you know, I'm talking about a girl who had contact with DCYF after she was found murdered. Well, here's her intake papers. Our state employee spies that currently work for the agency came to my porch in the middle of the night with a flash drive and I can't believe it's not butter Tupperware container containing the girl's intake papers 18 months prior to her murder. You know what I'm saying? So ruling out of their jurisdiction, their accessories after the fact, negligent manslaughter, these judges themselves, and even Wedby here, you know. And here's her intake papers, there's her parents, you know what I'm saying? Her whole case. So here, let's see. So May 21st, the top line is her. Khalees Brewer, God rest her soul. Her remains might be in a garbage dump right now because there was no family or anything. That's probably, if you want to pay your respects to the poor girl. So you see that, May 21st. But here is the coroner's report. So does it say, October 7th, 2022, she was found right here by my thumb. So the girl was found, I mean, she was in DCYF 18 months prior. So like I said, they're accessories to the cover-up of the negligent manslaughter. Here's we got the press reports and everything like that. So we got that going on. These haven't been answered. My union, we went after our union. They took us to court here illegally.
What happened with the police investigation?
So we got a police report when Blair put it in the case. No, sheriffs. It's a sheriff's investigation. Michael Glasgow. I have the report here. He says in the report that he got a tip from my wife. But they took her out of context, saying that my wife was accusing them of actually murdering the girl. You know, what in court documents and in this saying that she didn't call 911, that was the only thing. but Glasgow purposely took us out of context, okay, and said, well, so he decided to call Cynthia Blair and Natasha Savage and talk to them. And he, in his report, he says Cynthia Blair and Natasha Savage told Michael Glasgow bad things about Dilcia Conroy and made us not credible. So he basically wrote a report against my wife. But you know, he should have contacted my wife as a witness, but he went to the perpetrators. And you can see how they take us out of context, saying that we're accusing them of actually strangling the girl, which we never did. Even my wife sent an email to all DCYF employees right after, you know, we went to court, because when we were summoned, then she sent it out. And even in the police report, it was about the 911 call, criminal mistreatment. You know what I'm saying? If with West Seattle Precinct a half mile down the road, if Natasha Savage would have done her duty and called 911 when that youth walked off the property, there's a chance that the youth might be alive today. You know what I'm saying?